Hello, hello. How are you, Ally?
I'm good. How are you, Jen?
I'm great, and I feel like we just talked to each other because our last episode was very recent.
That's true. Yeah. Well, we had to move this one to earlier in the month because I'm taking vacation.
Because it is spring break time for children, and you're both impacted by this. So
that's true. And it'll probably feel like we're back again because we've got that special episode coming up at the top of May, which isn't even the regular episode for May. Nope. So yeah, unscripted all over the place.
I know. That is, again, we say this every month. Like there's a reason we're unscripted.
Totally.
Yes. So we have a big topic today.
Today is a huge topic, and we're going to be real unscripted with this one because this conversation around AI could go any number of directions. And I'm really excited about this because we need to stay on top of this in the industry in terms of, you know, what is it doing? How are people reacting? What are people feeling and thinking about it? How are people's processes changing as a result of the tools that are now at our disposals? So this is like a big thing. So if you are here with us live, we would love to know. And certainly if you have questions or things that you want to add to the conversation, we want you to do that in the comments. But we brought a special guest to join us for today's conversation, which I'm pretty pumped about. So we have the fabulous Tanya Brockett waiting behind the scenes. She's coming in now, coming in hot. All right. And Tanya is a trusted publishing expert who has guided hundreds of authors, including TEDx speakers, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders to craft nonfiction bestsellers that inspire and elevate their brands. With millions of pages of prose perfected and the legacy of success. Wait, can we just stop for a minute? Imagine saying that like 5 times fast. Millions of pages of prose perfected. Pages of prose perfected, pages of prose perfected. That's like a really good like mouth warm up. Anyway, legacy of success. Her expertise ensures every project exceeds expectations. As an AI and publishing impact strategist, Tanya empowers entrepreneurs to amplify their reach through custom AI chat models, blending cutting edge technology with timeless storytelling. Whether helping you create a bestseller or expand your influence, Tanya is the secret weapon you need to achieve extraordinary results. Yes. Oh, hot. Okay. So before we even dive into AI, let's learn a little bit more first, Tanya, by what it is to be an AI and publishing impact strategist. What does that mean to you?
What it means? Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Ally and Jen, for having me on the show today. I'm so excited because I just love having conversations with you. So I know this is going to be a lot of fun.
We're excited to have you.
For me, as an AI and publishing strategist, one of the things that I do is help. I've always been a cheerleader for authors, right? I've been doing publishing for 20 years. So I've helped them to massage their manuscript to make sure that they had a message that mattered, make sure that they had something that was going to make a positive impact. Well, one of the things that I do, as I have been a host, ghost, and coach for a long time. So one of the things that I do as an author coach is to help them to go through the publishing journey, learn while they do so. And, you know, if they don't need me for the second, third, 50th book, that's fine. But if they still come back, that's great too. So with AI, it allows me to not only help them through the publishing process, but do it in a more streamlined fashion that is even less painful than it may have been before. Publishing is not a simple task. Anybody who is a published author, kudos, right? I mean, you know that, right? This is your book. You know that. So it is, there are thousands of steps that you take from idea to bestseller. And people like us help those authors to take those steps in a more ginger, relaxed, okay way. And I have found in the past several years that AI is a helpful tool in doing so. So I'm putting myself on that side of the fence right now, but it's not where I started.
Okay. Well, now we have to know that story.
Yeah.
What's the origin story here of like weren't for it? How did you migrate over to being in the camp that's like promoting it?
Using it.
Okay.
Pure and simple. One of the things that blocks us from doing something new is just fear. And as we've heard many times in different places, fear is nothing but fantasized events appearing real. So if in fact there's no reason to fear something, then I can explore it and I can play with it and I can see, yeah, does it have any value? Does it not? Now, way back in the old days, and now that I have gray hair, you can believe this, but way back in the old days when the internet came out, I taught classes around the state of Maryland at the time called Profiting from the Information Superhighway. It wasn't even the World Wide Web at that time, okay?
So cool.
So I was at the forefront. They didn't even have Internet Explorer. That was, the early days, right? Well, they had Mosaic back then, and you had to dial up. And it took 20 minutes for something to render on the screen, but it was like, yes, but you could have your business here.
Yeah. Oh
That was the early days, right? I didn't consider myself a pioneer in any way, but the reality is that was early.
Yeah.
And I was helping people to get online. And many of my clients got online way back then. Never mind, Tanya didn't, whatever. I'm just do as I say, not as I do. So I was teaching people how to use the internet and benefit from it. So it's not surprising for me. And I've taught computer classes, I've taught how to use programs and so forth and so on over the years. So I've always been tech savvy. But my line of work, being in playing with words, doesn't always scream technology, right? So now that AI is on the scene in a greater way. Now, mind you, we've been using AI for years. We just haven't been using it the way that it has burst out on the scene, or we feel like it burst out on the scene. In reality, it's been there. We've been using it. We've been using it for spell checkers on our Word documents for years. We've been using it, when Grammarly came along. We've been using it for so many different things. And we just didn't recognize it as a thing. Now that it is a thing, it's emerged from the ground and we think, oh my God, it's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us. The reality is, I'm just a flower here to help you to do things.
It's like the zombie hand emerging from, right? And then you're like, oh wait, no, I don't have to fear you.
But then it pulls out a flower for you.
Actually, that's a really great point, Tanya, that we've already been using AI, but we haven't recognized it as AI. So it's almost more like the more recent version of AI is somehow terrifying, but we were building our way up to that point this whole time. But it was like, boiling a frog, right? Is that the phrase? Boiling a frog?
Is it like lobsters in a pot?
Lobsters in a pot.
I don't know.
Anyway, it's like the temperature is going up slowly, right? And they don't realize they're being boiled alive until like it's too late. And I feel like that's kind of what's happened with AI. Like when you give us that perspective, it's been there, but it's been kind of under the scenes, a little bit less threatening because it was only doing certain functions. Now that it has all this other capability, now people are panicked, right? I want to go back to something else that you said though. So thank you for the origin story. I love that. And I love knowing that you were like one of the first out there teaching people how to profit off of the early days of the internet. But you said, streamlining things. And also I think you said something about things that are kind of scary and overwhelming to authors, right? And AI can help them with that. So where are you finding that AI is streamlining things for people the most in the work that you do?
Oh, the most. That's a tough question. So it is very helpful in the planning stages.
Okay.
Whether it's planning out how you're going to use your book as leverage in your business, whether it's planning out your next book project, whether it's planning out your outline for that next book, whether it is planning out who exactly is your ideal reader and what is it they want and in what form so that you can provide that. all of those things, planning is a very helpful use. It's a good use for AI in the planning. But in the execution, it's also helpful as well. So now let's say that you developed a marketing strategy for your book, and it includes having a social media campaign. Well, now AI has already told you all that kind of stuff, but it can also say, okay, well, give me your content. Tell me what you're talking about. Give me your document for your ideal reader. Give me your book benefit statement. Give me your intentions. Give me your outline for your book. And then let's come up with a social media strategy that you can use to implement that. So it'll take your information and then help you to craft the social media posts. All right, you want 5 for LinkedIn, you want 5 for Twitter, you want 5 for Instagram, you want 5 for whatever. So it can just take your information and provide that to you based on your information. So I think part of the fear that gets reduced, and one of the reasons that I became a champion of a company called Amplify Brands, is because specifically Amplify Brands has a service called Replicate Yourself AI. And what that does is it takes all of your content, your creation, your wisdom, your knowledge, your skills, your podcast transcripts, your books, and it puts it into a custom closed chat model. So that this is you in a nutshell. So now Tanya can go to Tanya's chat model and say, all right, I am working on a marketing strategy for my first book. You know what that is because you're me. And I want to, come up with some other language or some campaigns or some ideas or some marketing tips that I can use to do that. So now as me, it says, okay, Tanya, well, first you did this. You wrote the Learn Solution very first. You did this. You were a teacher of entrepreneurship. You were this, you were that. Let's take all this then and create this for you. Because now it knows everything about me because I gave it me. I trained it to me. I keep it updated and trained to me so that it knows how to respond as me. So now it's creating things for me, by me, with me, and not with everybody else in the world.
Okay, so you said something interesting. You said a closed model. So we're not talking about open AI at this point. We're talking about something that's closed off, customized, and specific to a user. Is that correct?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It is based on OpenAI's ChatGPT, and we use it to create a GPT that is just you.
Okay.
So now it's no longer associated with everybody. It's not grabbing the internet. It's just you now.
It's grabbing you.
Right.
But
it feels good. It feels good.
It's totally picking up what you're putting in it. Okay. So this is really intriguing to me. Is this type of like closed model, and I love how you did this, and you showed us kind of visually how to think about it. That's something that this Amplify group is doing. Is that something that other people are doing? Is that specific to this Amplify?
Amplify? No, it's not anymore. Amplify Brand started this last year.
Okay.
And because of the whole fear of AI, it's hard to help people to understand how you can take this.
Right.
You don't have to worry about everybody else. This is just you.
Yeah.
And so that is the challenge. So one of my goals as an AI strategist is to help people to get from fear to empowerment with AI. It is here. Let's use it to our greatest good so that of the uses that are out there, there are a lot of good uses. Yeah, everybody, there are enough smarmy people in the world to
good word.
to screw up anything, right? So we know they exist. And that's just the way it is. Same with the internet. Smarmy on the internet. You get it all over the place.
Yeah.
But if you choose to use it for your good, And you choose to use it for the good of others that you're trying to share your information with, trying to relate to, trying to develop relationships with. If you choose to use it for good, then that's how it's going to be used for good. If we get enough people to use it for good, then those smarmy folks can just get over there in the corner and we'll push them aside.
Yeah. I think that's a really perfect, it's a perfect thing to say, right? Like the internet is a tool, AI is a tool, right? Even your cell phone is a tool, but you have the ability as a human to use those tools either for the benefit of self and others or to create and do harm, right? To self or others. You know, these things don't have emotionality. We're driving them. We are controlling them. And I think that that's a big difference. And I think some of this kind of fear, and I tend to be on the side of like cautious and hesitant, but also recognizing very much so that a lot of my cautiousness and hesitancy with AI has to do with not trusting a lot of people and how they're using it. Not necessarily the technology, but how people are driving the technology and how they're putting it to use. And that's really more of my concern, is like the ethics around it.
Right. Well, then if you're not an ethical person, you can make anything
right.
yucky, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So no matter how good it was intended to be, you can screw it all up by being
There's definitely an ethics problem in this industry, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we got an ethics problem across the country right now.
That's right.
All the areas. So.
Being a human being in this country right now, there's all ethical issues everywhere.
Yeah, hard.
So we know that's going to exist. I heard an example the other day in a entirely different context, but it really resonated with me because my grandfather was a brick mason. And what their example was you can use a brick as a tool to build a hospital, to build a house, to build a school, or you can chuck it through a window and break it, right? And there's been a lot of bricks,
but Windows better.
So it's the tool. You can't blame the brick that came through your window, right? Yeah. You have to look at who threw that brick. And the same is true here. We got the smarmy schmucks that are out there throwing bricks, with AI. Yeah. So why don't we just say, you know what? I'm going to pick up that brick and I'm going to build me something nice with that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it. I've got another question, but I've been asking all the questions. Jen, chime in here.
Well, I'm recognizing that Ally, you and I are like falling on different sides because you're like, I'm a little hesitant, and I am down all the rabbit holes with the AI right now. And I'm loving what you were saying, Tanya, about the kind of the closed AI models, because I just started creating custom GPTs for a publishing specific one, a writing specific one, a marketing specific one that's pulling in from just our resources. And it is already like, we're trying to figure out how to protect it so that way it's only our authors using it. There's like a bunch of different kind of like challenges. Maybe Tanya, I'll pay for some consulting time with you down the road to help me shortcut this process. But I'm wondering from an adoption standpoint. So like, think of us as experts, right? So because people are looking at us in this conversation as people who are saying, hey, here are these ways in which you can use it ethically, with integrity, etc. Mm-hmm. What is the hurdle that you've seen in getting people to actually adapt with that? So for example, like with my, I have one called Ask Penelope. And so that is all like the publishing questions, right? I don't have the M.
Penelope, the publisher?
Correct. And then I have Worthington, the writer. I just don't have an M. So I'm open to suggestions for the M. Anybody?
Maddie, the marketer.
Gotta be like something just quirky,
Maxwell, the marketer. Malcolm.
All right, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole real quick, Ally. I'm sure we'll get there. But like, so if I have Penelope and what's beneficial is it's beneficial for my project managers because then they can find our own documents much faster than going to Google Drive. But how is it to convince someone who is so terrified of AI of like, hey, here's this thing that we designed ourselves. It's not out into the wild. Like, how are you finding that, like getting the people that you're working with to actually make that first leap, even engaging with something that you yourself have created?
Two things I want to bring up with that. One, if you can help them to see AI as a big, huge office building. It's an Empire State Building, let's say. And there's all kinds of things going on in that building. You can't control who's doing what in this office or that office and that office, but it's everywhere. But when you create your own closet in that building, that is just your stuff, not everybody else's stuff. Now that closet, you can, first of all, you can find information quicker because you're going right to the closet. You're Penelope, right? And instead of going out into the big wild world of the rest of the Empire State Building, I'm just going to my closet and getting my things so I can do my work in a more productive way, right? So if you can help them to see how AI is just a tool to help you to create the container for what matters most to you so that you can do everything you do easier. It creates one of the products that we have right now is the Time Freedom Accelerator at Amplify Brands. And what that's designed to do is just to help you to see the 80% of the stuff that you do that you don't need to do, the 20% of the stuff you do that takes your business or your life farther, we can do the 80% with AI. If we can take that 80% off your plate, you can elevate what matters most to you in that 20%, whether that's family, whether it's book, whether it's speaking, whatever it is. So first of all, understanding that yes, the world of AI is there to help. We can pull the tools that make the most sense, put it in our container. And then when we use that container, we can get things done more effectively and safely and with integrity. So that's one thing. The other thing is showing them. And that's one of the reasons why we have a custom playground that we created at Amplify Brands. And you can get that through freegift.ai. Freegift.ai. In there are a couple of different documents you get there at the freegift.ai once you opt in. And the custom playground is one of them. And what it has is different closed models that we have created for others that they've allowed us to share. And you can play around with those models and see what it does. You can ask it questions. You can say, what is your purpose? Who are you? What's your background? And it'll tell you, because it's a custom model trained for that particular purpose, that person. We have coaches that are psychology coaches. We've got real estate folks. We've got all kinds of different playground models in there. So playing with AI and seeing its possibilities is one way to help break through and pierce that veil, because you see, oh, wow, I can do that with it. I can do that with it. Did you see how fast it did that? And when they see that, it sometimes opens the eyes and they're like, what else could I do?
Yeah. So you just need to give them a little kernel of something that is small and manageable. Maybe it's, I need to update my author bio to reflect that I'm now an author, and just going in there and just kind of playing around with it, just to get them to have that aha moment of, oh, wow.
Right. And if you have that if you have that model created, you can do that. One of the benefits I have of being associated with Amplify Brands is I've got Daryl who does podcast posting, and I've got Alex who tells me everything about Amplify Brands and how I can use it. And I've got all these different models that can help us to do our work. And it is so fun sometimes. And you can go in there and say, Alex, man, I really need you to help me to figure this, how to translate this to that, and blah, blah, blah. I've got this, here's this PDF, here's this thing. Can you help me to really bring out the essence of it? And so Alex will go in there and say, certainly, Tanya, come on, let's go. And it just goes on and does its thing, right? And I interact with it as if it were my intern or my assistant, and say, that looks great. However, I think you're holding back. I think you could do 1,000 times better than that. Let's see what you got. All right, challenge accepted. And it'll go on and do better work for me because I asked it to. But when you have these closed models that Amplify Brands creates, it even makes using AI fun. Because you're like, I'm gonna go see what Daryl can do for me on this. And
that's how I feel about Penelope. I'm like, I gotta ask her. I gotta see what her thoughts are, even though it's all my information.
Exactly.
It's almost wild to think about.
Exactly. And that's what's so beautiful.
So tell us a little bit more about what's available at the playground. I put the link into the comments, which will go automatically over to YouTube. We'll have to make sure that we update either the show description or the LinkedIn comments with that information. But what is available for people to play around with and try for themselves at the AI playground?
So first, it shows you, it gives you an understanding about, a brief understanding about custom AI personal learning systems for yourself so that you can figure out, all right, what does this really mean? How could I really use it? And then it gives you literally, let me see if I can figure out how many, like 10 to 15 different personal closed systems that you can just play around in and try out. We got one on real estate. We have one from Chef Zest. He's got, if you want to like put in an ingredient, all I have is this, this, and this. Help me to figure out what I can make with it. He does that. We have a social media luminary. We've got people who are helping you to find your true purpose. We've got empowerment coaches, and we have their playground. So you click on it, and it takes you into a chat window, and then you can ask it questions, bang around, say, all right, well, what is your purpose? What are you going to do for me? Who are you? And what do you got? And it'll tell you, I'm so-and-so. Hey, can you tell me your name? And then you tell it, your name. Oh, great, Tanya. So great to have you here. Blah, 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 blah. And it'll help you to do whatever that model was designed to do.
That model was designed for. Okay. So what about in terms of like, what do you find are the barriers? Like obviously fear, but like beyond that, let's say people are like all in, they're ready to adopt, they want to create these closed models, they want to create their Penelope's closet. So what other barriers are there? Is there a barrier of cost? Is there a barrier of time? Like, does it take longer to kind of build that closet before you can then make it efficient because you're loading all that stuff in? Like, what are some of the other kind of,
if you were to do it with Amplify Brands, one of the things that we try to make easy is give you a form to fill out for after we've determined what it is that you need the model for, and we know that what the strategy is and what it's designed to do for you. Then we have a form to help you to give us the information that it needs in order to do that. And so we ask for your content that's going to support that model. And some of it will be the PDF printout of your LinkedIn profile, for example, might be one of them. If you don't know how to do that, you can book a call with me and I'll show you. But then feed it with that. You can feed it with your latest book if you had something, you know, that was important to you that you're actually pushing forward and you want that involved in your chat model. So we just ask for the kind of information that would be necessary to support what you are trying to do with your model. And then you give us that information, and then we train the model. We create and train the model for your results. And then you have the opportunity to tweak that. Well, you know, the model talks about such and such, but I do it more this way. All right, well, your documentation doesn't necessarily show that, but let's tell it that so that it'll know it next time. And so we train the model and we keep it trained. And so with our monthly subscription with you, we keep your model up to date and trained. If you have something new that's coming down the pike, then you can feed that to us so that we can feed your model and train it so that it'll understand that and be ready for it. And then you're using it on your own. So
wow, okay.
What you have then is, it's like going to ChatGPT and seeing on the navigation bar on the left side, this is my model right here. This is the one that is me.
That's you.
So, okay. And then they can use that. And your closet. And what's so great about it is, just as Jen mentioned earlier, not only is it good for you with your client-facing work, but it's also good for you with your internal team, because your team can understand, this is how we roll. These are the ways we serve our clients. These are the products and services we have. If they get a phone call and they don't know the answer, they jump on their model and they ask it, hey, Penelope, what do we do about such and such? And she'll tell you, and then they can tell the client. So one of the things that I saw that was really helpful is, I remember, and I still have this in my binder, I remember the PowerPoint presentation that I would go through with each new hire. to explain who we are, what's our vision, our mission, our goals, who we serve, how we serve them, blah, blah, blah. Now your custom AI can do that for you. So they can I want you to spend 1 hour banging on this AI. And I want you to learn everything that you feel like you don't know about this company already and find that out. And so they can use the AI for their internal training. They can use it to stay up to date on what's going on with the company, etc. And that's a beautiful, beautiful use for it as well.
Can I ask a security question? Because I feel like I fumbled my way through figuring out how to create a custom GPT, figured it out. I'm fine now. But I can also see we have 10 years of intellectual property that are fed into these systems. And right now we have a content library that lives on the backside of our website. So any of our authors, if they have a question about covers, they can just go to the cover thing and all of our resources come up. If they have a question about editing, all of our resources come up. This just makes it more efficient to get to those documents and information. But when you have the ones that you were talking about, the real estate model, right? Where if I click in your playground, I go over to it, it's bringing me into my own chat GPT, and then it's coming up as a custom GPT in the top part. Is there any concern for someone who maybe, I don't know what it would be, maybe they're more cautious about their intellectual property and they only want certain people to be able to use that link and that information? Is there a way to protect that by putting it behind a paywall or behind a website or somewhere? Or do you just say whatever, people aren't sophisticated enough to know how to even share the link, even if they wanted to?
Well,
those swarmy schmucks.
Well, one of the things that you can do is, one, yes, limit who gets the link. So the link is only available and accessible to those to whom you give it. So in the case of clients being able to go behind the wall and find out things, that's great. They have the link to do that. Now, let's say that they are no longer clients and they became smarmy. So then what you do is you can change the link, break the link, change the link so that only those that you update, we've made some updates, here's a new link for the update. Got it. And now only those people who are not smarmy will have access to it.
And can they just go into the URL and grab the link and share it with anybody? Is that something that's possible?
Anything is possible, to be honest.
Again, if you're shady enough, you will find a path.
You'll find a way. But it also depends on how, well, like I said, you'll be able to control and see the usage of your own systems, right? You can see that all of a sudden there are 500 people that are tapping into this. Something went awry because I didn't give it to 500 people. So then there's some triggers that'll help you to figure those things out too. Now, I probably need to talk to my big guru at Amplify Brands to get any deeper questions and answers than that. But protecting yourself just as you would any a link to your course online somewhere. I mean, it's the same thing.
Same concept, yeah. I'm thinking from a perspective of thought leaders, right? Because I've done it for myself because there's a process. And as you said in the beginning of what you were saying, there's thousands of steps in getting a book published. So I'm using it for how I can help everyone just be more efficient. But from a thought leader perspective, for someone to be able to come in and say, hey, I'm a subject matter expert in purpose-driven leadership, and being able to put their content in there and have it somehow interact with, I don't know, a prospect, or, someone saw them at a conference and speak, and now they want to ask it a question. I feel like there's got to be a broad application in that regard too, right?
Absolutely. And one of the ways that can happen is by having, just like we have on amplifybrands.ai, we have our virtual representative, Alex Carter. And you can go on there and ask Alex anything. Now, say that 3 times fast. So you can ask him anything about Replicate Yourself AI. You can ask him questions about, what else is Amplify Brands doing, So the same for the thought leader. They could have their custom GPT embedded on their website so that it can answer the questions that people need in order to get them ready for the conversation that they're going to have with the thought leader.
That's
Or even to decide event planners and whatnot. They can even get on there and say, okay, so what is it going to take to blah, blah, blah? And do you have a bio? And do you have blah, blah, blah? And it'll provide all that information for you so that you don't have to.
Ally, I think we need an Ask Ally.
Ask Ally. Sure.
Ask Ally.
It'll be blunt. It'll be direct. It'll be entertaining.
It'll probably be probably pretty cussy. Yep. Have one. I mean, I feel like I'd be up there with like, Samuel Jackson's chat responses.
It'll be on brand at least.
Yeah, that's right. But yes, you could have a custom model that would help your clients to understand what primary thoughts do they need to have to think through the concept of their memoir before they come to you for coaching, guidance, or writing. So you can provide that to them before they even get there, so they're a more educated consumer before they walk in your door. That's one of the reasons that I wrote my very first book, was The Loan Solution, over there somewhere on my bookshelf. And I was a business consultant, and I was the first ever for-profit technical assistance provider for the SBA in the state of Virginia. And I used to help people to get loans and guaranteed loans from the SBA. That book was designed to help people to be prepared for doing so. So what I would do is encourage them, get this book, get to step 5, and then you can make an appointment with me. You cannot make an appointment with me until you have everything in step 5.
It's brilliant.
And so the same for Ally. If you want them to be prepared for your coaching sessions so that they can get the most out of it and they can get more bang for their buck, because your time is valuable.
Yeah.
Then you can prepare them with your custom chat model so that they can be ready to walk in the door. I said, okay, I worked with, Ask with Ally, and I got all my stuff together. Can I have an appointment now?
Yeah. I have to be honest. I've seen some people do some really incredible things with AI in the last, 6 months to a year. So I definitely see the merits to it. So I think for me personally, I'm not worried about being an ethical user. I get overwhelmed thinking about all the things that I would want to train it to do and all the content I've created in the last 7 years and pulling it all together and then thinking strategically about how I want to use it. To me, it's very overwhelming. It's very attractive when I think about streamlining and efficiency and things like that, but it's overwhelming. So for me right now, my barrier to entry is overwhelm, which is why like a free playground maybe is good. I did tool around with it a little bit last year because my husband is in the software and development technology space, right? He's a huge proponent for AI. And we did a couple of different things with ChatGPT for my business, mainly running some scripts to kind of boil down my ideal avatar. And I was pretty impressed with what it spit back, considering I hadn't trained it to be me. I mean, this was just open AI, open ChatGPT, and still felt like it drilled down pretty nicely, like the pain points and challenges that a lot of my people have. And so I was like, okay, like that kind of gave me enough of a little bit of there's potential here. Like I could see how this could be useful. But with all the other things that I've been trying to create, like taking a beat to stop and say, okay, let's go train a bot to help me make this faster, I haven't been able to figure out how to get there, like carve out the time or find the right resources.
That's one reason that we created the Time Freedom Accelerator at Amplify Brands, because what we have you do is do like an 80-20 assessment for, what are you doing that you could delegate? What are you doing that somebody else could do? What are you doing that AI could do for you? What are you doing? What matters most to you? What's your 20%? And then we create a plan for implementing one step at a time, the other 80%. What can AI do for you? We'll create a model to do this. We'll do this. We'll help you to do your social media posts. We'll help you to write about it. And so we create that plan to try to reduce the overwhelm so that you can benefit from now having only the 20% to do and more time freedom to do it.
Yeah.
So that's
well,
part of
I
the
would
reason.
be happy to receive more information on that, Tanya, like personally. I would love to see what that looks like. Now for me, I want to go back to something you said in the very beginning. We were talking about how are authors using it through the process, and you really promoted like planning and conception, outlining and things like that, and some strategy stuff. And you talked on the other side too about marketing and media. You did mention that in between, it can be useful also for manuscript development, but we didn't dive into some examples of how. And this is for me where I have the greatest ethical concern, which makes sense as a writing coach and developmental editor and a ghostwriter, though I am hanging up my hat on that. I'm letting you all know I'm not doing it anymore.
Done.
I'm closing it out after these last projects are off my plate.
Wait a minute, you're closing off ghostwriting after that?
Yeah, I'm taking some time away from ghostwriting. Wow. I want to go back to some of my own projects, and it's hard to do that when you're also ghostwriting other people's manuscripts.
That book has been backburnered I don't know how many times, and it's my book that needs to get out. It's called Finding Grace When You Want to Scream. Simple tips to cope for dementia caregivers. I'm a volunteer facilitator for a caregiver support group. I have been involved with it for 10 years or so. And I have a base system of self-care that's in there that I need to get out into the world. And every month my group tells me, so where's the book? I need to get that out. So I applaud you for taking the time to do your own projects. Yeah, I'm just gonna put a pause on that. And ultimately, I love coaching more. I love coaching people on developing their manuscripts. And honestly, I feel like I'm actually a stronger memoir coach than I am a ghostwriter, in all honesty. And I think that there's proof there. Not that my ghostwriting clients have been unhappy; they haven't been, but other publishers see the manuscripts that come to them after somebody has worked with me. Whereas with ghosting, I mean, you're ghosting. There's a level of anonymity, right? So there's not as much social proof there to say like, oh yeah, this is a really strong, ghostwriter. So yeah, but even still, with all those hats on, manuscript development is obviously where I'm the most concerned. So this is where I'm like, okay, how should we ethically, or how can we ethically use AI when it comes to developing the manuscript so that it's still you, the author? Now, I have a new perspective on that since we've talked a lot about training your bot and closed models. But the way that I've seen authors attempt to apply this so far has been through open AI sources, not trained closed models. And this is where my ethical dilemma comes in, because I feel like to just ask it to spit something out for you is cheapening what you can offer. And it can. So that is there. And that was my initial resistance to AI in the beginning. Was I'm a ghostwriter. Why do I want to encourage people to write crap out of a computer instead of, doing their own thing? As I have learned and as I have taught others to use AI to create their books, I realized that there is a way to do it. Even those who don't use a closed model, you can still, at least for that session, train your OpenAI, your ChatGPT with your content. So even though it's not closed, you can give it what it needs in order to provide you with what you want. So if I want to just see if I'm on the right track with the outline for my book, for example, have I covered everything that this ideal reader that I've already worked through, and now you have the model for? I do the same thing with my Bebop courses. I help people to identify their ideal reader because it really makes writing their book so much easier
Yeah.
when you are
100%.
really clear on who you're talking to, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And AJ Harper, one quote she says is, "A book is not about something. A book is for someone." I have it up on my bulletin board. That's why I'm looking
Yes,
at
love
it.
that. Love that.
And I have always believed that. Get your ideal reader first so that you know exactly who you're writing for, what is the benefit they're going to receive, what are they going to get out of that book. And when you have an AI training session where you say, okay, I've gotten my ideal reader, I know exactly what it is I want them to feel, I know what I want them to do, be, and have as a result of reading my book. Here's all that information. Help me to make sure that I've got all the ducks covered that is going to lead to that goal. Are there any gaps here that I'm missing? Can you point those out to me so that I can see what they are? And then it'll help you to do that. And you can fine tune where you're going so that writing, however you choose to do it, is so much easier because you've got a really detailed outline that is designed to produce exactly what that ideal reader needs at the end of the day. So then you can feed, let's say, like for this book, the Finding Grace. It is that I've written this book over way too long, right? So now I think what I'm going to do next is put the book into my model and say, look, I've written bits and pieces and this and that and the other. I need you first summarize this. Help me to really get a good summary of what this content is about. You know, how could I word this for somebody and so forth and so on. Then I could have it take pieces of it and I could say, all right, given this information that I have here, given the research that I based this on, given this other stuff, have I covered it in this particular section, paragraph, chapter, what have you? And it can say, yeah, but, and it can find the holes for you. You can ask it to find those holes. You can really, if you know how to prompt very specifically, you can get it to do just what you want. And the other thing that's so beautiful, one of the prompts that I have for editing is it's about almost a page long the prompt is. So it's not just this little paragraph that says do this, right? It's a long prompt, but it includes incorporating Chicago Manual style, referencing Merriam-Webster's 11, using my house styles here, using my preferences. My model knows that I don't ever want to see the word transformative in my work. Okay, it knows that. Don't write that word. I don't like that. And there's certain, it will always use serial commas in my work because that's my preference. I want the Oxford comma in my work. And so there's certain styles that I can make sure, whether it's Chicago or not, that I can have it look for, identify, bracket out for me, not change, but bracket for me so that I know what its recommendation is. And it will not change my original content if you give it the right instructions. It will just point out those differences that it thinks might be better for you.
Okay.
Now, the same thing is, I mean, you can use Grammarly for things like that and improve your writing, right? You use that oftentimes spell checkers and stuff without blinking. So AI is just that.
Well, what I'm thinking, right, is like, I know Jen would agree with me. We would always promote to an author that you edit your own manuscript. And Tanya, I'm sure you would agree too. You edit your own manuscript as many times as you can before you tap in a professional, right?
Absolutely.
Give them the cleanest possible manuscript that you can before they look at it. So it sounds like if given the prompt is specific enough and the information is thorough enough that it really could do a first attempt or second attempt even at developmentally reviewing or even copy editing, depending on how you've instructed it, to do its thing. We've got 10 minutes left. So here's another piece though. What about citations and referencing and crediting other people's work? How does that work? We're all in the prescriptive nonfiction space. Although I would really prefer writing memoirs, but like we're helping people write books that oftentimes, refer to other people's research sources, data, studies, whatever it is. So how do we do that ethically?
Well, one of the things is you use a combination of, you can use your chat model, but you could also use Perplexity AI to source your data for you. So
okay, what's Perplexity? So for
Perplexity
people,
is kind of like a I don't know if I should say this. Okay, maybe I can do it in a non. All right, it is a search engine on steroids that also provides all source documentation from which it derives its information.
okay, all right.
So, when you do a search there versus another search engine, you are, how do I use Go High Level to do my custom relation management, whatever. And then it'll go through and search the internet, search all the sources it can, and it'll start synthesizing that. And then it summarizes the results of your search. And then it gives you the citations for all the places from which it gathered that information.
All right, that's
so
cool.
Now you have source data
Yeah.
and a summary of the information. So it's much better than just saying, here are 50 billion sites that we saw that had that phrase in it.
Yeah.
It is saying, here are, a select few that really answer your question. And here's the original text that we got that from. And here's where you can go to cite that. And so then when you bring that in, you bring in your citation, and then you go source that and you go verify.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, I want to actually take this quote right from that and actually put it into my manuscript. So perplexity.ai is a great tool for getting some initial searches. And what's so wonderful is when you can use a combination of tools to really help you. So you could start in Perplexity for researching something. You get the citations, you take a look at that, you gather that data, then you bring it into your chat model and you say, okay, given these things and this information, how could I incorporate that into the concept that I already have about blah, blah, blah? Where would this fit into my manuscript right now? Where would it fit into my outline? How does this jive? And does it? And then it can help you to figure that out, and you can determine whether to include it or not. But now you have the citations for it.
Yeah. All right. That's cool.
Can I call out what's not being said?
Sure.
Is you're not suggesting to just go to any open AI source and say, write me a book on.
Yes, please call that out. That is not what we're saying.
Right? Like how to be a better leader. And then just taking verbatim whatever it gives you and then trying to submit it to one of us. There's so much intentionality. And I love the example that you just gave, because even when you were saying, like, with your own, like, you love an Oxford comma, I am a stickler for an Oxford comma myself. Okay. So just knowing that, like, you're not just having it automatically change things, you're really evaluating it because you're using it as the assistive device that it's intended to be. So I just want to call out for everyone watching that we're not just saying go in and have it generate a manuscript and then submit it and hope for the best. Like, it really is assistive in so many ways.
You have to read through, just as if it were anything that it provides for you that's going to add value to your content. You got to read through it word for word, just like you would anything else before that thing goes anywhere else. Because if I find a transformative in any of my information, I'm really going to be upset. Mm-hmm. So that's just one of those words that I just don't like that AI tends to use. But it's just, here's the other thing. There's that big debate oh, well, AI always uses this or uses M dashes and uses. I use M dashes, okay?
I love an M dash.
It's my favorite punctuation mark. It's being destroyed in real time.
Right. So, get over that. So everything that AI knows, it's getting from the real world. Mm-hmm. So of course it's going to use real world words that we use. So you can't say that just because it used some document has this in it that it's AI. No, it is human language. It's in a dictionary. Are you going to say we took everything from the dictionary? Oh, you plagiarized that dictionary. All those words were in there.
The key test would be, like, can you produce an M dash using your keyboard? That would be
Yes.
the true test of
Boom.
whether or not.
Got it right there. Yes.
Oh, 0151, depending on what kind of M-dash
Yeah,
you
I'm
want.
not on a PC, right? So for me, it's the option shift dash. But
I'm so glad though that you mentioned, well, Jen, I'm glad that you called out that part, like what hasn't been said, but also Tanya, I'm also glad that you said, like, no matter what it spits out, you need to read, because that's true of anything. Before AI, when we were hiring other people to write our content, right? You would review that, right? I would, or this is another good example. I had a client the other day who said to me, like, I'm going to trust you on citations and referencing, like, you know, and I said, yes, trust me, but also don't not look at them.
trust
Like,
and verify.
if that's what you meant when you said, I trust you, like, because at the end of the day, my name's not the one going on the book.
Exactly.
Yours is. You have to be the representative. You're going to be the one answering the questions about the stuff that's in the manuscript. You're the one that's going to be questioned as to whether or not that was a legitimate source, right? So yes, I'm looking at the citations and references. I'm looking at, you know, the quality of where we're pulling from and the years, and that we've not misrepresented the material in the manuscript according to what that original source said. But just because I might be doing that, you trust me, and I'm an expert. I'm not the author. This is not my work. My name's not the one going on it. I'm not going to be the one that's going to be representing it at the end of the day. Your reputation as an author counts and matters, and the final product that goes out into the world is going to be there forever. So you have to do your due diligence. This is to me like the bedrock of this issue, going right back to where we kind of began with ethics. And are you going to be a shormy schmuck, or are you going to be a superstar? I need another S word, but I'm not sure what that is. Sweet superstar. You know, you get to make that choice, but the choice is important. Like, how you choose to go about this is important. So I think if we were to like just answer this question, right? The name of this episode, should I be for or against the use of AI in writing and publishing my book? I think that you should be for it if your intentions are good.
That's right. Always write something worthy. That podcast that I created
Yes.
years ago, write something worthy, because it's your legacy. Your name is on this forever, whether or not you want to retract it. If you get it up on Amazon, it is there for freaking ever. So whether you like it or not, so you better like it.
Exactly.
So review anything that you use AI to create for you.
Yep. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left. So let's do a rapid fire. What do we got for our people? Tanya, what do you want to promote? We've got the AI Playground is already in the comments. What else would you like to let people know about?
Well, for you in particular, TanyaLoves.me/time freedom. That is the program that Amplify Brands has to help you to figure out that 80-20, what do I delegate, what do I not, and how to apply that to your own custom chat models. And coming up on the week of the 22nd through the 25th, I'm going to be involved in a summit for the Conscious Leaders Book Writing Summit. And I'm going to be speaking on the Thursday of that event. So TanyaLoves.me/summit will get you in there. It's a free to attend, but there's a small $97 VIP if you want to gain more value, because we actually have special gifts for VIPs that are not for everyone else. So anyway, TanyaLoves.me/summit.
Love it. Okay. And if people want to book time with you, is that TanyaLoves.me/AI?
Yes, for booking a calendar, yes, /AI. Yes.
Okay.
I love your URL. It's like TanyaLoves.me. Like, how do you get that wrong? That's all.
I love it. All right, Jen.
I also have TanyaBrockett.com, but when I want to direct people to specific things, it's TanyaLoves.me, because it's usually something that I love to share.
I love it. It's brilliant. Jen, what do you have for your people?
We have our new advocate to author writing program, which is a 12-month program now instead of 6 months. So you can go to advocate2author.com, and we have open enrollment for early June would be the next time we're bringing the folks in. So if you're trying to get that manuscript done and you just don't know what you're doing, we are a source.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm going light today. I just want to let people know that I'm running a Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern, free writing accountability group called Get Fucking Writing. Yep. Everybody's welcome, including those of you who are here with me today. And what writers always need is to get their butt in the chair and their fingers on the keyboard and to do the damn thing. But what is the hardest is all of those things. So this is a way to come together. It's via Zoom, bedhead, bad breath, coffee in your hand. Like, I am such a hot mess at 7 a.m. in the morning. It's ridiculous, but we're showing up, we're showing out, like, and we're doing some solid writing in that hour. So if you are feeling like you need something light lift, free, and accountable to you and your schedule, 7 a.m. Wednesday mornings, just get in touch with me and I'll send you the calendar invite.
Amazing.
That's great.
Thank you, Tanya, so much for being here. This has been, this is why I love doing this show, is that I get just as much value as anyone who is watching this. Like, you are a wealth of information. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great having you.
I love being here. Thank you all so much. This has been terrific.
All right, my friends. So we actually have a special episode coming up on May 1st. That's a Thursday, same time, 10 a.m. Eastern. And we are going to be live with another guest, somebody near and dear to both Jen and my heart, because we worked on her book, different stages. And so this is a book brainchild that is coming to the world. So we are jumping on for an extra episode at the top of May, where we can celebrate with Tanya Diesler, whose book Girl Consultant is coming out any day now, published by the fabulous Jen's publishing company, Publish Your Purpose. And we're going to be talking about all the hands that go into bringing a book from blank page to publication. So don't miss that. Join us then. Bring your questions, bring your party hats, and it's going to be a good time. We'll see you then.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.